Everyone, welcome to Understanding Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. My name is David, and I'll be co-presenting with my fellow RCs.
Griffin,
Diana, and Melissa. We're going to start off talking about how sexual harassment is defined. Sexual harassment is the unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, sexually motivated physical conduct, or other verbal or physical conduct or communication of a sexual nature. Things to note and be aware of: this is unwelcome, it is sexual in nature, and in regards to retaliation, adverse action or threat made in reprisal against any individual who participates as an actual or potential party, witness, or representative.
in sexual harassment, it is unlawful to harass a person, whether that's an applicant or an employee, because of that person's sex or gender. Harassment as an area can include sexual harassment. While harassment in general does not have to be of a sexual nature, sexual harassment includes offensive remarks about a person's gender or sex and is of a sexual nature. It's important to note that the victim and the harasser can be of any gender, and those can be of the same gender, whether that is the victim or the harasser or both. Although the law doesn't prohibit simple teasing, offhanded comments, or isolated incidents that are not very serious, harassment is illegal when it is frequent or severe, noting that frequent and severe creates a hostile and offensive work environment that results in an adverse employment decision. It is also important to note that the harasser can be the victim's supervisor, a supervisor in another area, a coworker, or someone who is not an employee of the employer, such as a client or a customer.
So types of sexual harassment, here are just two: quid pro quo and hostile environment. So quid pro quo is also known as this for that. It occurs when job benefits are made contingent upon the provision of sexual favors, or occurs when the rejection of a sexual advance or the request of a sexual favor results in tangible employment detriment, or the loss of a job benefit. Hostile environment. Tangible employment action or economic injury need not occur for a victim to make the claim of hostile work environment harassment. Examples include displays of pornographic pictures or cartoons, touching and grabbing, sexual remarks or jokes, and the physical interference with movement. Supervisors, coworkers, and non-employees at that work site or work-related site. This can be reported by a third party.
It is important to remember that the victim does not have to share their discomfort for it to be considered sexual harassment. Furthermore, it does not matter if the behavior before was once acceptable.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about sexual harassment in regards to Title VII and Title IX. Title VII is a part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and it is a federal law that prohibits employers from discriminating against employees on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, and religion. It generally applies to employers with 15 or more employees, including federal, state, and local governments. It is also important to note that it is also unlawful to retaliate against an individual for imposing employment practices that discriminate based on sex, or for filing a discrimination charge, testifying, or participating in any way in an investigation, proceeding, or litigation under Title VII. Additionally, sexual harassment is a form of sexual discrimination, which is protected under Title IX.
Next, we want to talk about UW's policies about sexual harassment. One important policy is the Diversity Employment Practices University Regulation 1-5. This states that it is a violation of university policy to interfere or to circumvent in an inappropriate manner with the employment or educational pursuits of any member of the university community. Discrimination and retaliation are specifically prohibited. Violations of this policy will be addressed promptly with appropriate corrective action taken. Violations of a severe or persistent nature are considered serious and may result in separation from the university. The other policy is the sexual harassment policy. It is a policy of the University of Wyoming to prohibit sexual harassment and all forms of discrimination that are based on race, color, religion, gender, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, etc. All students, faculty, and staff have a responsibility to assist in the enforcement of this policy. Be aware of its contents and abide by its terms.
So what should you do about sexual harassment? Report it. Talk with your supervisor. Talk with your RC or call the LOC. You can also talk to the EORR or EOR. This office is in charge of handling reports of sexual assault. It's located down in the Bureau of Mines, room 319. And then the phone number and email are on the screen.
How this can show up in your RA role. There are some things you need to be aware of. First, social media. Be aware of what you post in a staff Facebook group. Be aware that if your staff has a group me, that this is still considered a workplace. Be aware that any jokes that you may discuss or share in your personal life are not appropriate in the workplace. Remember that the residence hall is your workplace. Even though you're in your place of residence, it is still a workplace, whether that's working at the desk, when you're on call, etc. Thank you so much for your time and attention. This completes this training.